as we get ready for this first match for these guys this week. And it is going to be an interesting one because yet again, Alutemu and Tom are both up there in terms of the score. There's almost all the players in Asia Pacific have contention into top 4, and I believe that is not the case in some of the other regions, or at least in every division for the other regions, whereas we've got pretty much anyone apart from the players that are looking at, like a couple of players that are looking at relegation, can still make it in. So it's pretty huge. But we see the double priest shield, which makes sense.
Just don't care
because they have power word.
Yeah. Tom's just a cool guy. Turning up late for class, hands back in the air.
No one's even shouted at him.
So what? Yeah, exactly.
So when you could turn up,
you'll still win.
Yeah, stroll in, and the teacher will be like, "Oh, thanks for joining us," and not try and say that in a sarcastic way. They'll be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for gracing us with your presence.
I appreciate it. Please do you want my seat?
You're very famous here. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, there you go. I imagine that is the case. Let's go into the game. Tom, bringing his, I would say his signature zoo list.
Oh yes.
Maybe not Tom really known for being a huge zoo player, as in throughout history, but this list has been maybe every single week in GM this season he's played it, with the slightly different versions, but overall the key card being the Plague of Flames.
Yeah, Tom is now completing his bad boy image here in the Hearthstone Grandmasters of turning up late, slouching, and not doing his homework. Same deck week after week here. And honestly, I was criticizing him for bringing the same decks a couple of weeks ago. He's still bringing the same decks week after week.
Yeah, he watched the stream, was like, "Ha, Derek,
what a nerd.
Yeah, I'm not going to listen to you. You know what? I was going to change deck. Now I'm not. Take some of that.
You're not my real dad.
You can't control me."
I never even claimed I was Tom. That would be absurd. I think I'm younger than you.
It's probably true, actually. Yeah. I'm the world champ. Anything I say is right. Or ex-world champ, I guess.
Yes, son.
Alutemu. On the priest. This matchup's one I just don't see that often, honestly. I feel like it continues to baffle me that Zoo is played so much in APAC. And, okay, you know what I should do? I should play on APAC ladder more. Blizzard, lend me some cards. Because in EU, I never see Zoo.
Right.
I'm not even joking. Almost never. I can't remember the last time I played against it.
Exactly, and this is actually a matchup I was really interested in because I think I saw it on stream in one of the other regions. And I was in the same opinion as you. I just did not know how it went. And so I decided to message Pizza, famed Zoo
Pizza.
The Pizza of Pizza TCG on Twitter, who is he plays an absolute load of Zoo. All these aggro decks, he absolutely loves them. And I asked him, what's favored? Does Zoo beat Priest? Are the players correct? And he said, it's kind of close. If Zoo has the coin, it gets a lot easier, but I still think Priest wins out more often, which I think is kind of the thought I was coming to, that Priest is kind of just the higher power level deck. But if the Zoo can get ahead on board at the start, it's in a very, very nice position.
Yeah, and a little bit different in this matchup, just because any deck is very unique when it faces Priest. Your plan versus Priest is probably unlike your other plans versus every other deck in the game. But I was also speaking to a master of every deck, he would argue, in Hearthstone, is Mr. Simon Sottle Welch.
Ah, of course.
Who said he hates Nefset Thrasher, he thinks it sucks, and no one should play it in Zoo if they're any good.
Wow.
That's not a direct quote, but it's more or less what he said. And I've known him long enough to fill in the gaps.
You've toned it down a little bit.
Yeah, it's not a direct quote. I would be sacked if I said a direct quote. But he said, honestly, Nefset Thrasher, it just ruins all the things Warlock wants to do, like spam live tap. It hurts themselves, so suddenly they can't live tap anymore. They die versus any deck that's remotely aggressive. So he's actually said he plays Zoo without Nefset, and I was like, my mind's blown.
You madman.
Yeah.
I can see where it's coming from. We've seen so many times Zoo just completely kill itself in these matchups. The opponent doesn't have to do anything, because with these attacks, hero powers, and of course the Flame Imps as well, it can just be too much damage, as we do see the signature Plague of Flames coming in hot here for Tom.
Yeah, and what I was going to add on to that point, although I agree in general, I will say versus Priest, a 4-5 on turn 3 is solid. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah.
Because to use it to just trade minions off. Right?
I agree.
But that's because Priest is such a unique matchup. In any other matchup, I'm kind of okay with my opponent playing the Thrasher.
I honestly still quite like the Thrasher. The main reasons being against Druid, it's insane. If you can coin that out or even get it on 3, it just really starts ramping the damage up. Obviously, the synergy with Vulture is very apparent. That's like one of the main reasons you're putting it in. And also, I think at the moment, Zoo just really runs the risk of not being aggressive enough. It's like it's a board control deck. And if you're taking out Thrashers, it doesn't do enough damage. It just controls the board.
Actually, like the legendary plus Sea Giants list.
Oh, what, Tikan?
I always forget the name of that, and I don't really know why. I just always forget. Just one legendary that never sticks with me.
Well, it's now the final boss as well, I think. In the
oh, is it?
yeah. The dungeon.
No roleplay like you do.
I don't usually play the single player concept, but actually, this is very fun. I'm enjoying it a lot, actually. This time.
But now, though, we see tap into another minion of the Vulture doing its job.
Oh, yeah.
And suddenly...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, our team is not got a board.
Yeah, it was really just the Plague of Flame for Tom that was so insane in this matchup. And maybe that's why he's been bringing it for so long. Maybe he was months ahead of the curve.
Honestly, when I saw Plague of Flames, one of the first decks I made, I Plague of Flames my tiny board against a board full of Giants, because it was Conjurer's Mage at that point. And I was like, this card's just good. It's just a good card. Like, no one will ever convince me otherwise. Yes, maybe meta-dependent, but if there's any matchups the card could just win the game,
right,
put it in your deck.
Oh,
because the card, even if you 1 mana, you kill off a 30 minion for like a big minion instead. It's like, that's just an insane card.
It really is. I think Plague of Flames is like almost on the level of Defile, where you could call it like a 6-star card. Like, it's ridiculous. It's so overtuned, but it just needs to find the correct spot to actually use its power. It's like bringing a sniper rifle to a knife fight. It's just not the right weapon a lot of the time.
Unless it's long enough to just bash them on the head before they get close enough for you. I know there's some really big rifle. And there we go. Game over. Game 1 finished. Tom rocked up late to class, but he's going to clock out a little bit early anyway, as that is going to be 1-0 for Tom going up against Alutemu. And there's not much he can do, and if that's the way the Zoo matchup plays out versus Priest, then maybe APAC's been right all along and Zoo is the right brink.
And this is something that Tom does very well. He's just, I criticize him again for bringing these slightly similar decks week after week. He just plays them very, very well. He's not making these kind of mistakes we're seeing from a lot of the other players. And I think that's it for Tom. He does, again, rock that kind of image of someone who doesn't even need to try that hard a lot of the time. I'm not saying that he doesn't, because he's just so good at the game. He just gets it.
Yeah, well, that went by just in a blink, and that was game number 1. We've got a few more games potentially left of the last match of the day. Tom versus Alutemu will continue after the break.
We've created a new home for all things Hearthstone Esports for both desktop and mobile users. From the homepage, you can find the latest articles, scores, and VODs. And from the navigation bar, you can find so much more. Here's how it works. Under the Grandmasters tab, you can view competitor profiles. Here you can see a player's top classes, recent decks, and watch their most recent series. You can also access the standings from this tab to help you understand where each player is in terms of playoff contention or relegation. On the schedule page, you can check the dates and times for every part of the Hearthstone Masters program. This includes the full calendar of Masters qualifiers, Masters Tour event pages, and the weekly schedule for Hearthstone Grandmasters. Looking to try your hand at the decks the pros are using? Simply click the eye on a Grandmasters match to see submitted deck lists. From here, hit the purple Copy Deck Code button and open Hearthstone to your collection. Then, create a new deck and simply answer the Create from Clipboard prompt in the affirmative. Finally, the News tab will show you Hearthstone Esports news exclusively. Dive into interviews with your favorite players and check back every so often to see what you've missed. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the tavern.
We're back with the last match of the day going into game number 2. Alutemu versus Tom. Tom taking a win with his Zoo and just crushing Alutemu's Priest. I imagine it could be likely at least Alutemu just queues Priest again, but Tom definitely has Priest to fall back on if he wants, and especially with this Druid in this matchup, so I think that might be the case.
Yeah, up against the... Yeah, I'm thinking up against the Paladin. I'm wondering if he would rather go for the Druid ever, because I actually really don't mind the Druid up against a Paladin matchup. I think I'd actually call that slightly favoured for the Druid, especially when you've got 2 Ferocious Owls, which is the case for Tom. Seems like pretty much everyone has that now. Whereas I would call the Paladin to Priest maybe a little bit closer. But then, of course, on the other side, I would rather have the Priest up against the Shaman, and I'd rather have the Priest mirror than Druid versus Priest. So I think for Tom, it's probably a case of just jamming the Priest 2 times in the case that he loses the first time. And Alutemu, I really wouldn't be too surprised to see him just giving it another go himself.
Basically, the format of this weekend's Grandmasters, it seems, is game 1, someone wins. Game 2, Priest mirror. Game 3, someone wins.
I feel like we're finally getting a taste of what the other regions have been putting up with for like 4 weeks now. Is every single series is just going down to a Priest mirror.
It's glorious.
Tom throwing away his signature card. He always has a little spicy twist on the decks in the Regenerate. I think that's probably correct. It's kind of like, I think it's generally just a third, slightly worse Circle of Healing is what you consider it as. And so unless he has the Injured Tiger of Blade Master to go with it, I like just getting rid of him.
Yeah, so far though, it is just a game of 2 Tolvis. The worst part is, although Tom doesn't have to circle and, you know, kind of get the bad outcome, he has to do this play, right? And it's really funny because Alutemu has the same thing.
If he could just, if he could have found himself an Inner Fire there, that's how good the card is in the match. That would have been insane. I guess with the silence thing, the other side of the game would have carried on at the very least, but would have been huge.
I think Cleric always comes down now though, right?
Yes, yeah, I like the Cleric.
Both players with silence as well. I think Tom's running 1. Oh, Tom's running 2, and it's Alutemu running 1. Now Alutemu is running 1. That's it. Yeah, I knew it was 1 and 2. So Tom, you could argue, has an advantage in the mirror. Would you say?
To an extent, I mean,
there's no Bonsamdi, but the mirror doesn't get that far, right?
Yeah, you don't usually care about that. The beaming sidekick that you miss, would you rather have a silence or a sidekick?
Silence, I think.
Agreed. So yes,
and also I would say the Regenerate is way more flexible overall.
Yeah, if you call the swap like Regenerate for Bonsamdi, I'd rather have that, and silence for sidekick, I'd rather have that.
Right. Weird though, with neither player getting it anyway, whether it's Topsy or in a fire, to push some big damage. It's kind of just stalemated. As you can see, the board is almost mirrored.
Tom obviously has the option to go silence and then silence the Cleric and then Circle of Healing to give him the beefiest board possible. Or this line, which I didn't really even consider.
Is this worse? What if a fire comes down?
He uses the silence either way though, right? If he wants to kill off the Cleric.
Right, but if he... I guess, because he wouldn't have killed off the thing. Yeah, okay. It's just tough, right?
I'm fine with this.
It's really... This game's hard.
Very hard.
Did you know Hearthstone's a pretty hard game?
Yes. I realized that when I realized I am not good at it either.
Day 1.
Yeah.
Wish I'd recorded my early Hearthstone experience.
I still remember some of the early decks I had because, like, back when I was sentimental, I didn't delete my first deck for like a long time.
Oh, really?
And like when I started playing Hearthstone, I basically just like watched Trump's arena videos back in the day. So I didn't have any concept of what like good constructed decks were. They were bad. They were some really bad decks.
I think I would laugh a lot right now if I could watch it back, just purely because I didn't know that I was good or bad.
Right.
Because there were things I just didn't even know to measure it by,
yeah.
right? I didn't know what was good. I didn't know certain things or concepts existed. Oh, that is a good Psycho Pump now, though.
It is, but the game does still carry on being a bit complicated because Alutemu, of course, has on his own side more arms to get the very nice value trade on the Psycho Bomb, and then potentially even Divine Spirit. If he could just juice this bad boy up.
Is it worth a circle here for Tom?
What does it heal the Psycho Bomb up to as well? 10? Oh, sorry, the Tolvit. Sorry, Tolvit. It heals the opposing Tolvit up to 10, I think, right?
You're only bothered about exactly silence, though, right? Yeah. That's the problem. I think Tom might have to just ignore the fact silence might exist. Because if he heals, it puts his Blade Master up at such a solid health. Oh, he doesn't.
It's a surprisingly close game, because should he save it and find Cleric or
Light
Warden?
Exactly, yeah. And that's what you were always kind of at tug of war with, aren't you, right? It's like, I either use this to gain advantage now, but if I draw a good card, then this becomes even better. But if I don't draw a good card, I've lost the advantage I would gain by playing it this turn, which is the ever looming issue with especially Circle of Healing, because you can always play it, right? You can play it every single turn of the game.
Situation that comes up surprisingly infrequently in the Priest Mirror as well, which is just the opportunity to make one massive minion, smack your opponent in the face with it, and say you have to have the answer. Of course, Tom has the second silence in his deck, but do you think this is just Alutemu's best chance of winning the game in going silence on the Tolvir, heal Divine Spirit in a fire, push face?
Yes.
I think so too. I think that's the play.
Because he's outnumbered on board.
Yep.
Don't even try to fight a battle you can't win.
Yep.
Fight a battle you can win. It's got Tom's face. Looks like Alutemu's saying, let's roll. Well,
nice.
Tom either draws it or he doesn't. And it's usually the case. The sequence of events that have led us through this evening. The player who is 0-1 down.
Oh.
Game.
Very anticlimactic.
Yep. Wow, it feels so many series have gone 1-0. The person who's 1-0 loses the Priest Mirror to 1-1. Yep. Then we have another Priest versus X game. And that's it.
That is it. I think a very wise play there by Alutemu. Again, there was a very obvious punish in the silence. There was even other stuff that could have gone wrong, like another Tolvir coming down to get in the way.
Yeah.
But I think
by time.
The much more glaring problem with that game was he was vastly outnumbered on board. If he buffs it up to 6 attack there and just goes value trade, you lose eventually. It's not the winning play. And I think he wasn't too difficult to make, or to realize the play at least. A little bit more difficult to realize it was the correct play, but he got there, won the game. Good game. Yeah,
I like it because it narrows the whole game down to what can be a complicated matchup, especially when you're looking at one big minion versus a lot of little ones or small ones. It just narrows the game down to a very simple outcome, right? And although you can say, oh, well, if he gets the answer, he loses, it's like, right. But as you mentioned, if he continues the game as he was, he probably loses every time.
Yep.
So just say, you either draw it or you have it or you don't. If not, we're going to 1-1. And I like that. I think just decisive play like that is what makes our team a good play.
I think so too. It was one of the hardest parts of the old Cyclone Mage that he was so good at, was knowing when to just go all in, put everything on the board and say, if you have the answer, you have it. And it's clearly a strong part of his play with this Priest deck as well. But that does mean that he has his Priest out of the way, taken care of, which is obviously not bad for him because otherwise he would have lost the series. But he's left now with, I believe, his Shaman and his Paladin, unless I'm mistaken. Both of which, one of which is very good against the Priest, one of which is slightly better than average. I would say
very good.
Okay.
Watch your mouth, Darren.
Pretty decent against the Priest, I would argue, in the Paladin. The other one is a bit bad against the Paladin.
Yeah, it looks like Alutemu is going to be going for the Paladin, so we're going to see more Paladin versus Priest.
Oh, yeah.
And I like it because I feel like both players have... both players are allowed to play the game, right? And what I mean by that is I feel like, unlike the Warrior matchup of Warrior versus Priest, Paladin has a lot more options as to what it can do and how it approaches the matchup.
Yeah.
Whereas the Warrior often comes down to Mummy on 4, kill something off, then you have Plague, you have Brawl, you have Shield Slams, and it's literally, it's like just one straight path, whereas Holy Wrath Paladin has many different routes, even to get to the same outcome. Kill all the priest minions, but you know, like look at this. Is High Priest a call a keep? Is it not? Mainly because it's just a decent minion, but his 3 mana just way too late versus Priest. If he mulligans, what's he looking for? Does he want card draw? Does he want subdue and some of the other sort of removal tools? It's a tough one.
It's a really tough one.
Because the call's just a great card.
It is a good card, and against Priest, it's not always enough to just draw, because if you just draw and don't hit, say for example, the shrink rate to catch up afterwards, you can just lose the game on the spot. And therefore cards like High Priest Thekal and the True Silver, of course, become significantly more valuable. So I really wouldn't be too surprised to see that Thekal being held on to.
Already though, you can tell, you know, not the easiest mulligan. We've just been talking about, our team has not even decided yet, and he's the one playing the deck.
I mean, this is a hard as nails deck. Underneath.
Ooh. Potential early Zephyrus as well, which I wouldn't mind.
Oh yeah, I think.
Right. Don't hold on to that. That's just a 3-2. Enjoy.
I'll take a Bloodfin Raptor to go.
Yeah, no real surprise there. Oh, okay. Bit of a pause because the Pyro, but I think Pyro can do more work than the Zephyrus, because honestly what Alutemu has to consider, and maybe this is too much, but you might be dead before Zephyrus is even relevant, whereas Pyro's relevant on turn 4 if you have subdue.
I agree completely.
You know what I mean? Like,
yep. I think it's
Zephyrus might never get relevant in this game.
Yeah. Get relevant, Zephyrus. Jeez.
God.
I say when Zephyrus is slowly invading literally every class in the game after Jambray's like rank 1 with Zephyrus Rogue, people playing Zephyrus Hunter, Zephyrus Paladin in Americas.
It honestly worries me.
I mean, the card is
too good.
So absurdly good.
And it's only going to get better. That's my fear. And that's just true, isn't it? Yeah. It will only get better. Bit of a tricky turn here from Tom. Just going to Power Word, Shield, and pass. But now, it's as good as the call as anything.
Yeah, there's not too many cards that could take out the Light Warden here. It's pretty much only...
Does he...
Pyro plus Christology or the Elven Archer, so I think it's fine. Just
does he bump? I think he does, right?
Bump and then play Acolyte?
Thekal. Because then the hero power won't put them higher than 3.
Yeah, sure.
So it needs to be hero power or circle or X to push further up. And I think 3 damage to priest face accomplishes very little, if anything. Whereas I think this bump could make this trade or this next turn a little bit more awkward for Tom.
I wonder if you actually just don't attack anything this turn, because then...
I mean, why would you not attack it?
Well, because if you go face, then they can heal their face. I guess going face is like kind of neutral because they can heal your face anyway. But the point is that you
what punish have you got for bumping?
Don't bump it in. Circle of Healing is the bad one, and Nephicet Ritualist. You don't want them to be able to. You want them to, because if he doesn't attack in, he has to attack in first, then heal up. Whereas if he trades into the minion, then the heal can come in on the minion from Circle and Nephicet before it attacks, which means it can then get a strong trade against these Zephyrus. So I think this is actually the correct play from Alutemu.
Okay. My worry now is, or my answer, I guess, is if that happens, then your other minion just kills it the turn after. It would have to be like...
Right.
It would have to be like Nephicet trade Circle or something like that, which is like, if they're putting that much into one minion, and there's like timeout and hard removal left in your deck, of course, which there obviously is for Alutemu, I feel like that's fine. That seems like an extreme overcommittal. Whereas I feel like the bump, although could be punished, ensures that you almost always kill it the turn after anyway.
I think you pretty much almost always kill it off anyway. Heal face down, maybe not.
What about like Divine Spirit or something now? You know what I mean? Like, I think there are way more ways for this to live than there is for it to die.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think it was close.
It works out anyway. Yeah, don't get me wrong. It's not backbreaking. I'm just more sort of voicing maybe what I would have led to.
And honestly, it felt like Alutemu was not especially sure as to how he should approach that either.
Good consecrator.
Yeah, that's always a good.
And the clear board is a good board as far as Alutemu is concerned.
In the light's name.
Is it about Acolyte time? Are you ever expecting more than one draw from this Acolyte?
I think like the only way that you're realistically expecting that is like Christology off the top to go with Pyromancer. But if you're getting Christology off the top, you have Christology, so you have stuff to do anyway.
Exactly, yeah. So I like this.
Yeah.
Honestly, if this soaks a hit and draws you a card, fine. That is just A-okay.
Yeah.
At least I'd be okay with that one. Because all Alutemu needs to draw different cards. He has, he can last some time with double timeout, but he needs to just do something more active. He's in the unfortunate position where he's actually drawn most of his non-card draw cards in the whole deck. It's like Consecrate, Pyromancer, 2 timeouts, Equality, Zephyrus. Like, it's literally all, deck all.
Yeah.
I think I like Hammer of Wrath here. I guess this kills more minions.
Is there any benefit to
You could Hammer of Wrath, Pyro.
No, I guess it doesn't quite work out.
I mean, it kills 2 of the minions, just like this was. This would, sorry. But he's also 1 and a bit turns away, well, 1 turn away, I guess, now from Pyro.
Yeah, yeah. And
so you just hold it.
This also sets up for Hammer of Wrath plus True Silver Swing next turn to take out the 4/7.
If there's a heal.
Yeah, yeah.
In the light's
The winner is... My Warden. It's not Wardens in the game, isn't it?
Tomb Warden, Light Warden. Any others?
Isn't the 1/7 Taunt Warden?
Mogishan Warden. That's right, Mogishan.
I guess so, yeah. I think so.
Is that a thing you walk from?
Yeah, it is, yeah. Mr. Pandaria, I think.
Of course. Saw a panda at the zoo the other day.
Oh, really?
It was adorable. I think it's the first time I've ever seen one.
Do any kung fu?
Fell over.
That's what they do, though, isn't it? They just roll around.
Yeah. I felt a kinship to the animal.
Imagine, like,
Eating and falling over.
although we're incredible animals in ourselves as humans, just we
Yes.
do some pretty cool
Beautiful
stuff, like
beasts.
Hearthstone and stuff. But
Peak of human achievement.
yeah.
Great job.
But honestly, if I had the ability, have you seen just when like pandas just sort of get into a ball and just roll down hills and stuff, and they're fine? Like, that would be sick, right? What a mode of transport. We don't need to cause all this issue in the global warming.
That's
So
your
just-
solution to the energy crisis.
Just roll around like
is
a panda.
being a ball.
Just roll around like a panda.
Everyone's just like, wow, this is going great. And then they reach the bottom of the hill. Damn it, I knew we forgot something. Why did we burn all the transport? That was so much worse for the environment.
I'm just saying. It looks like
No, you're not.
It looks like a pretty efficient thing. Just roll around.
Yeah.
Send an email to, is it Greta?
Subjected. Hear me out. Right. It's going to sound crazy.
But I've got a plan.
Have you ever been bowling, all right? I know what you're thinking. Imagine that. But people.
I wonder.
I'm actually crying. meantime.
Yeah.
So we're back
Should
to
I go back to the game for a while?
Pinnacle of human evolution. Also.
Secondary only to being a sphere. Alutemu able to clear off the board finally, which is obviously huge because now Tom is left virtually minionless.
Yeah, this is the problem, isn't it? Like, once you just lose the board like this, and Alutemu still has cards, you know it's either card draw or the answers they already want to draw into.
That's right.
To deal with any further minions that have been played. So, Tom definitely on the back foot now.
What are the draws that could turn this around, though? I'm looking at not Bwonsamdi.
Nope,
'cause
not
he's
in this list.
Running it. Psychopomp, Amit, Cleric. None of those are even that good, though, honestly.
Because of... Is this matchup just good for Paladin?
I'm starting to think
We've done a small sample size, but as soon as you remove the board,
it just feels
unless the
horrible.
draw is horrible, which is
Yeah.
almost impossible because they have so much either draw or the answers. Well, look at Alutemu's hand this game. He has timeout if Tom decides to go crazy and make one massive minion.
Yeah.
Just times out and buys himself more time if he needs it. He wouldn't need the time because he has Equality Pyro.
I mean,
There's also other options as well. The
Yeah,
Subdue,
yeah.
of course, and so on. So it doesn't have like the best answers, I don't think, but I think it has the answers more consistently than any other deck right now.
I'm starting to think more and more that the thing to do against Paladin with like pretty much all decks, or all aggressive decks at least, which I would to an extent class Priest as at the moment, is just to go all in at the first possible opportunity.
You don't have Subdue, your Equality is 4 mana.
Right,
And unless you've already got a Pyro down, it doesn't kill it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so just try and kill them on turn 5 or something.
They only run one Equality and usually one Equality and one Shrink Ray.
And
anyway.
one Subdue,
Yeah. So just like throw it all on the board, and I mean, if you say what, plucking a completely random number out of the air, 50% of the time they don't have the answer. That's a 50%
win
matchup.
rate.
Yeah, exactly. I'm fine.
That'll
with
do
that.
me.
Yeah. Obviously, you don't always have the ability to put pressure.
Right. But I think that should be a folk. It should. Do you think it should almost be played out similar or akin to the Priest Mirror, but in terms of mulligan? Like you want an inner fire and start hitting them.
Maybe,
you want to like
yeah.
just play something that
yeah.
actually does damage. Because honestly, does Holy Wrath Paladin care if you've just got a cleric on turn 1 and another one on turn 2? Like, cool.
I mean,
you know, like
yeah.
I'm not dead, and I'm going to draw cards as fast as you are anyway.
The matchup feels most similar to me to like aggro token Jambre Shaman versus Holy Wrath Paladin, where the way to play it, I've learned, is just to do exactly that. Put all your minions on the board, hope it sticks for a Bloodlust. If it does, you win. If it doesn't, you lose.
That's just the way it is.
Because the deck does not draw well enough afterwards to catch up. Because even here with a Cleric, this deck does not draw anywhere near well enough.
That's what I mean.
Game.
Like a cleric,
This is not even close.
even with a good outcome, does not match the Holy Wrath Paladin
Yeah.
in terms of just consistency of card draw, and that's it for me. Like you can also the fact that Paladin can afford to run one Shrink Ray, one Subdue, one Equality, and still do well, is because the rest of the deck's card draw. So you just get to that answer like snappy every single game.
Well, with only 9 cards left in the deck, a double draw off of Christology is pretty fortunate.
And like Alutemu's had to defend this game.
Yeah.
He's not had nothing to do, and his hand's full. Like, and he's defended. He's not dead.
Yep.
It's crazy.
I'm sure you could make arguments for Tom's mulligan. Like he held on to, what was it? Light Warden, a injured Blade Master, and one other card. I can't remember exactly what it was. But like he threw away a Regenerate, and I don't know. Maybe you should have gone more aggressive, like holding on to the Regenerate.
I'll just say 1 drop, 3 drop.
Exactly.
Regenerate,
Heal
go.
up, get the 3/2, get the like flame imp effectively, hitting them in the face every turn. Or maybe you should argue he should have tossed all of that to look for Cleric or Amit that sticks on the board, or you know, just something else, because it just didn't feel anywhere near good enough.
And interestingly enough, maybe this was just a deck that should have been banned. Oh,
Maybe.
and
What was banned?
it's
Warrior?
Warrior, yeah.
Yeah.
So I know it's all about lineups and everything, but is Warrior better? I don't
Maybe.
know. We're going off a very, we're getting a bit hyped on a very small sample size, of
Yes,
course,
yes.
but I do think Holy Wrath Paladin is a very good deck right now, and I think it does well against many other decks.
Yeah.
It's got game versus aggro, and it's got game versus control.
It does indeed.
It's a tough one.
And I think one of the things that's really holding back more players from going with the OTK Holy Wrath Paladin is they're just not good enough with it. To be honest, it's not a deck that you can rely on your fundamentals in Hearthstone to win with, especially with the janky matchups like the Mirror in particular. Like, you have to know exactly what to look for or you will lose.
Yeah, honestly, I queued it a week or so ago. Thanks. After not playing it for a while. So I've been casting it a lot, obviously, and I've been watching a lot, but just not physically been doing the motions. Queued it, and honestly, my first 3 games were just me playing like trash. And I used to play a good chunk of Holy Wrath Paladin, but I've just not touched it for a while because you kind of, you know how it plays. It's just executing it on a game by game basis is very difficult.
Got to be on your A game.
But yeah, I was embarrassed actually at how bad I played. I was like, if I was a GM, I would be raging at myself right now. But this, though, even now, Alutemu obviously did have the Thakal and has just a ton of health as well, so even if something did survive, it wouldn't cut the mustard.
Shuffles the Shivala. Tick! That was basically the only way he lost. Shivala was left.
Holy Wrath to face lethal, let's go.
Yeah. Honestly, he probably could and still miss and win the game. Like, this is just over, I think.
Well, there's no way to even kill this Shivala, is there?
Yep.
Like, there's literally not a card in the deck that kills it.
Just creating 3 Shivalas would probably win the game.
That's what I used to love about the aggro matchups when I used to play a lot of Holy Wrath Paladin was like, you just didn't even bother about Holy Wrath, you just made like 3 Shivalas. Back when you played Zola and stuff like in the old Holy Wrath when you could just be like, Shivalas everywhere.
That's right, because there was a while before the rotation after Raskin's Rumble, you could play Holy Wrath and the Horseman version with Uther right at the same time.
You'd also do stuff like you would Shivala, Zola, Brewmaster the Zola, the Shivala, and make just tons of Shivalas to play every. It was so sick. I loved it so much.
And there was that one really weird playoffs where it was just all combo decks bashing up against each other.
And then Cloning Gallery happened.
Well, honestly, then Mechathune Walk. That was the king of combo decks in the mirrors.
So Tom now doing, I will say, an awfully good job of not just completely losing, but he's kind of just lost.
Going to
like, I again don't like calling games. Tom's playing it out, but I don't know.
There's
not a lot he's got left, and there's still if Alutemu really wanted to potentially just go for it this turn. And I think even if he went for it and missed, he'd still have another Shivala in the deck and could still draw and still do stuff. But I think he's going to be okay no matter what.
I agree. I think Alutemu is understandably hesitant to just play out the Subdue and clear the board, even though that would pretty much 100% lock him the game, I think we can see. Because, maybe Amit comes down, maybe Psychopomp comes down, and he needs the Subdue to be able to kill him.
He knows there's no Bon Samdi, though.
Okay.
I just placed it.
Yeah.
And you've just seen the big Pyro turn. So you get it? Hey! You got it! Easy. All part of the grand plan from Mr. Alutemu. He's going to take the win over Tom. And look at him. He's just, the relief. Getting the win there against Priest. Got to feel good. And again, I wonder if, I don't know, if Paladin is just worth more consideration for a ban, or maybe we even see that change over the course of the weekend because there's still time. There's still 2 more days, 2 more full sets of games. But honestly, seeing what we've seen today, deck's pretty good.
Yeah, and that has big implications for how the rest of the group shakes out, because now Dawn is in joint first place with Tom after the games, both having been played for them. I know it's just keep getting closer and closer. If Glory can get the win tomorrow, then maybe that makes it, again, a little bit closer. But I believe we can actually just take a look at the standings to be able to get a better picture of where this is all at after day 1 of week 7. Again, this is the final week before we head over to playoffs next week. So for all the players that you're cheering for to get through, this is their final stand to make it.
Yeah, and taking a look at the day, we've seen Chonsu, Surrender, Shaxi, Tyler, Flurry, Rivius. Wait, did everyone in Group Division A play today?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah. Everyone Division A played today. So that's all those scores are sort of kind of equal.
Look how close that is.
Yeah, and as you can see, well, everyone has 1 more match, which means all those scores can change by 1 more point, which, as you can easily see, can mean Chonsu's in, Blood Trail's out, the other 6 players, flip a coin on those ones because we're going to have to find out what they look like tomorrow with all the matchups. And then on the other side in Division B, we've obviously seen Tom take a loss there, which progressed Alutemu up. And again, everyone is still knocking around. Blitzchung won't be able to make top 4 now because he cannot get to 7 wins. So Blitzchung cannot make it. But everyone else, apart from Blitzchung and Patra, can make top 4 still. Off the top of my head, there's all the itty-bitty tiebreakers and stuff we have to find out, but we'll progress towards that towards Sunday. Let's check out tomorrow's schedule and see what we have got coming up. We've got Glory versus Staz kicking it off. Staz bringing a bit of a spicy lineup, putting it all on the line here for his top 4 playoff opportunity. And then we've got Flurry versus Chonsu and Surrender versus Rivius.
Yeah, there's big implications in terms of the schedule as well, because if you remember in Division 8, 3 players at 7-6, 3 players at 6 and 7. None of the 7-6 players are playing each other, and none of the 6-7 players are playing each other.
No.
Which means no one is guaranteed 8 wins, and no one is guaranteed to stay at 6 wins either. So we could end up at a 6-way 7-win tie at the end of the week here.
Couldn't write it.
Which will be, of course, decided, as you can see there, by Rivius Surrender, Flurry, and Chonsu. But for the main part tomorrow, we are focusing on, as you said, Division B, with Blitzchung and Alutemu, Patra and Tom to close out the day. All of those matches have huge implications because on the left-hand side, Blitzchung and Patra, they are fighting to avoid relegation. Patra, we believe, still in with a chance of not being relegated out of Grandmasters, but she has to win both her games. Blitzchung has to lose both of his 2 games. And obviously on the other side, Alutemu and Tom, we saw after Alutemu taking a win there, he separates himself from Frosty, getting up to 7 wins, whereas Frosty stays down at 6, whereas Tom is still trying to wrestle for that first seed, which he could, I believe, still get.
Yeah, depending on how all the tiebreakers shake out. So another exciting one tomorrow, as we've got a lot on the line. We're going to see if Group A breaks apart or stays close together, or if Division B actually, if Patra or Blitzchung still have a chance, because if Blitzchung wins his match, then that's just done for Patra. But if Blitzchung loses, then Patra has to win. If Patra loses and Blitzchung loses, then that's just the same anyway. So we will see what happens. It's been a long one today, but a lot of crazy matches and huge implications for the rest of the weekend. But as is the case, Derek and myself are done, and we will see you tomorrow.